Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are working so hard to make coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Got a couple of quotes to share with you. In fact, one of them by Benjamin Franklin that I'll get to next. We'll ask today's guest what he thinks about that one. But anyway, the first one was actually posted by my friend Frank Willem, and it came from Business Minder 101. So I'm not sure who actually said this. It could have been Confucius or something like that. But here's what it said. Do not correct a fool or he will hate you. Correct a wise man and he will appreciate you. You know, we talk a lot about feedback and social media and all that. I guess you learn who you can really share your point of view with, and you learn who you best just, pass them up and move on. But I like that. Correct a wise man and he will appreciate you. I love feedback, by the way. Whatever kind of feedback it is, I appreciate it. It makes me better. I think that's a good human quality to have. I know a lot of really good leaders who also share that same capability. And here's the one by Benjamin Franklin. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. You know, in my conversation with Mark Henderson, we talked a lot about how when you're an entrepreneur, the harder you work, the more you learn, and that entrepreneurship is about this constant journey of learning about so many different things. There's really no limit to what you can learn when you're starting businesses and being creative and being innovative. There's always something to learn, but the best investment of knowledge pays the best interest. Okay, so let's move to my guest today is Jourdan Nicaud from Nicaud Restaurant Group. Been on the show several times. Someone I really enjoyed checking in with, and we'll cover the spectrum today. But without any further ado, let me say good morning to you. How you doing, Jourdan?
Good morning, Ricky. Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Where are you right now? Where are you sitting today?
I'm actually in my office in Gulfport.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, listen, before we go too far, I want to first just say it just does seem you and your wife and your family are just thrilled about your baby. And it is amazing how fast they grow, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is, it's been an entirely new adventure that I've begun on. And as you said earlier, I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn every day as we go through. And it's something that I had no real knowledge about beforehand, and have tried to learn to go and shoot. And it's been an awesome experience, though. That's for sure.
And what I used to say a lot, that when my kids were born, it's like I couldn't remember what it was like not to have kids. So God has a way of just sort of wiping your memory out. And now all that matters is the value of that child and what that child is all about. And family means something. It should mean something to everyone. Some people don't catch the bug, but thank God most do. But it is amazing how it shifts your priorities, isn't it?
100%. It's also interesting learning how much time it takes that you don't realize. It's hard to get a lot of things done because there's a lot of time that goes into it. And it's an awesome experience watching her grow up, and it's crazy just seeing the advancement that happens it's been 3 months since we've had our child, and she's already starting to kind of coo, and you tell she's starting to talk, and she's just starting to finally recognize me, which is a good thing. For a while, it was kind of just, who is this stranger holding me all the time?
Yeah.
It's definitely been an awesome thing, and it's also funny watching all the grandparents trying to fight over who gets to spend the most time. It's been an interesting experience all the way around.
Well, I know from watching your mother on social media, your mom and dad have really, really enjoyed having that baby, haven't they?
Absolutely. I think they actually like her more than me, to be 100% honest.
That's I would say, let's see, the youngest baby in my family, Jordan Matthews, who you know well, his son, who's now 2, incidentally. I can't spend enough time with him myself. I feel that way about all my grandkids. We have 4 now, and I'm literally obsessed with them. And I was obsessed with my kids, but I think probably I'm even more obsessed with my grandkids. It's just something about that opportunity to be able to influence their lives and the joy they give you from being around them, it's just awesome. And as as you say, your daughter's recognizing and cooing and all that now, but man, of course you're a smart guy, your wife's a smart woman, your kid's going to be super smart. It's going to be so much fun watching your daughter evolve, and every day is going to be a new experience. And God bless you for having that opportunity.
Well, thank you. We're very lucky.
So let's talk about for a second, for people who have not heard you and me talk before. I've referred to you before, you and your brother and your family, as one of the more aggressive entrepreneurial families in coastal Mississippi. The investments that you're making literally across coastal Mississippi are very, very significant. And you just about have a footprint in just about every city now. I know there's a couple that you're not in, but the bottom line is you're covering the waterfront literally, and which means that you have a strong belief in coastal Mississippi. So we'll get into a lot of those things, but let's talk about Nicaud Restaurant Group, which is actually more than restaurants these days. But talk about your holdings and what you're up to these days.
So we are doing a lot of apartments in certain areas. We're doing hotels. We're doing new restaurant concepts. Doing a lot of different mixed use developments, and I think we see the Gulf Coast as still a growth area, especially during this downturn recession. I mean, I think we're in a much better position than most of the country really is, especially areas that don't have a coastal area and don't have the, I guess the word I'm looking for is the amount of regulations that we have are much more limited than other states. And so I think because of that, it allows us to grow. It allows us to seek investments, and it makes our area just a continuing boom. And we see it on the restaurant side as well as on the hotel and apartment side, where year after year we're having growth and being able to refine people and having new customers from all over the country right now come to our area. Obviously, still working through employee issues and how to best recruit people to our area to work and to our restaurants. But beyond that, it's really been an awesome experience.
So go through your holdings. Just cover the waterfront on what you're involved with.
In Bay St. Louis, we have Fields Steak and Oyster Bar, which has been a tremendous success steakhouse, and the city's been really great. We actually have a new sushi bar and rooftop concept that we're going to be doing downtown, and we have a new surprise restaurant that we're going to be doing as well. I can't really talk about it yet, but it's going to be on the beachfront, and so a lot of great things going on in that area, and it's been a continued boom and success. In Pass Christian, we have a new hotel that is coming up. We have a currently existing hotel, as well as Bacchus, Philip Billups, and the Deck, which have all been seeing great success. We also have a bunch of subdivisions that are starting to take off in Pass Christian, and new developments that are really just planned community developments that are similar to what they have in maybe Alice Beach and Seaside along 30A, but something that really don't have a lot of along the Gulf Coast. And it's more of a planned design, basically, where you're buying into an investment and you're buying into a pre-planned community, basically, that's going to have houses that look a certain way. And basically, when you buy the lot, you buy the plan. There's a management group that manages the property for you that allows you to rent it all out and whatnot. And so that's been a pretty cool project we have going on now. We're also looking at putting in higher end apartments in those areas, and that's been a big success for us. And I think with the way interest rates are going, and with people coming to the area who may not want to invest in a home, but may want to rent a home for a year or so before they decide to invest into a piece of property, we've been looking into that area, and it's been a very interesting dynamic, and the success of people who are reaching out and pre-leasing our units it has been really awesome.
Okay, so that's Pass Christian, and then keep moving down.
In Gulfport, we have a lot of exciting things coming up. The Antique Galleria is doing unbelievable, and it continues to grow. And it's been a surprise, and it's a very successful surprise. Our sales there are actually interesting. We're actually increasing granted, we opened up in January, so it's not, I mean, December, so it's not a huge, long time period, but we've seen consistent increases in units being rented and in sales of people coming in and buying units, and up to 50% increases month after month, which has been pretty extraordinary in any business. And considering this is going to be our first business that we go, in the full retail side of it, I was a little nervous, but it's been an awesome opportunity.
Let's do this. We're at the end of this segment, but we'll pick it up there. And I found that was an interesting one because that took a bit of a leap of faith that it was all the pieces would start to come together. But with so many of your efforts, you have to bring a vision to the situation, and you have some financial plan around that, and you go do it. Mm-hmm. Some have more risks than others. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Jourdan Nicaud. Welcome back. I have Jourdan Nicaud visiting with me today for the whole show, and we're talking about his Nicaud Restaurant Group, which is, again, I mentioned the last time we talked, that's the wrong name for their company because they're involved in so many different aspects, literally covering the economic, just about every economic dimension you can imagine. When we went to break, though, we're talking about this antique. What do you call it? Antique Galleria? What is it?
Yeah, it's to be Antique Galleria, and it is the state's largest antique mall. And basically, currently it's 50,000 square feet. We're looking at possibly expanding it upwards to even 80,000 square feet as the demand continues. It's been a tremendous success, and I was saying earlier, it's really, really neat. I've never been involved in the business. I grew up going to those businesses with my mom, and she did have a stall at the one in Pass Christian that was called the Bazaar. So I grew up going in and seeing it, but never actually understood it or had developed something like that before. And we were lucky that we had some partners that were involved that said that there was a demand for a big one in Mississippi, especially in Gulfport. And so we kind of took the leap of faith, and it's been paying off very, very well. So we're very excited, and it's been awesome. We're looking to expand that and even go into doing a marketplace similar to what they have in Orange Beach at the wharf, and be able to have newer items, not just antiques going into it.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting? I mean, again, you go into a shopping center, which over many, many years have really had a hard time defining itself. And you go into this place where there hasn't been a lot of activity in a long time, actually. And you renovate the building, you have this going. It would seem to me that in some respects the internet and social media helps in a situation like this, because your antique enthusiasts are the people that you're trying to target, and those have a way of finding each other, don't they?
100%. And what's interesting is, I was in New Orleans probably about 3 months ago, and I was at the checkout counter at a retail shop, and I was talking to the cashier, and I was having the item shipped back to Pass Christian. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to the Gulf Coast this week." I was telling her, "Oh, such a good restaurant to go there." I was going through the thing. She said, "Yeah, well, we're actually just making a day trip to go. We heard that there's a new Antique Galleria opening up, and we're so excited to go check it out. The pictures look really great online." And it was funny because, it was just something that I had no idea, never been to the state before. We had no idea anything going on, and she just was already talking about going there, and it was just very interesting seeing how that all worked out.
That's incredible. It's a small world, but again, that's what happens when you come onto something successful and it begins to evolve. And pretty cool that you're talking about now expanding it to, I think you said 80,000 square feet. That would be incredible. So what else in Gulfport?
We have some things on the planning commission board right now in Gulfport, and we will see if they get if they get allowed through, and if they do, then maybe we'll come back on the show later on to talk about it. Okay.
So let's move to Biloxi.
So Biloxi, we have some great things going on. Fields Steak and Oyster Bar has been doing very, very well, and it continues to grow. We're looking to expand an outdoor space on the front lawn there, and have an open air bar similar to Bacchanal in New Orleans. That'll be wine and cheese and charcuterie and live music, and try and help revamp that area, which the city's done an amazing job just bringing all these people to that area and really revamping it and rebranding it. And it's interesting seeing the development between 2011 when we first opened up and started going down there, and now it's just totally changed. Josette's another one that we have down there has been a tremendous success. All the apartments are rented there, and we have Toasted Yolk opening up sometime in middle of June, which will be an awesome new breakfast spot for the area. And we have a new sports bar concept that's going to go into where Billups is, and so we're very excited about that, and it's been great.
Yeah, actually, I was down in Biloxi in the last couple of days, and I saw activity happening at the former Billups location. But I tell you what, why don't we do this without? I'm hesitating, wanting to ask questions about each city. Let's get done sort of walking down the sort of waterfront about each of the developments, and then we'll come back because there's some central themes here that I want to talk about, and then get into some specifics about them. So, anything else in Biloxi?
Oh no, that is it in Biloxi right now. In Ocean Springs, we have Chard and Rooftop, which have been doing very, very well, and Government Street's been awesome. We recently opened up Bacchus on the Bayou, which has been our second location for Bacchus, and it's taking off very well. And the building looks, I don't know if you've been over there, but the building came out looking really great, and the restaurant came out looking great. And I think we've had a tremendous success so far there. Well, we can't wait for the summertime and have people pulling up on boats and enjoying the area. We have a new hotel we're also doing, and a new proposed restaurant as well going on in Government Street in the old Chandelier Outfitters location, where it's going to be a boutique hotel that we break ground actually next Monday on. So wow. Very excited about that. And then moving on down to Pascagoula, we've successfully renovated a new apartment mixed-use building on Delmas Street Avenue, and it is totally filled up, and it's been an awesome success over there. We have begun renovations now on the old Ice House property right there over the bridge to the left, and are just excited to see what occurs there.
Well, Jourdan, that's a lot. It's an amazing amount of investment in coastal Mississippi, and there is a central theme, and we've talked about this to some extent. And I got a good lesson in what I'm about to talk about from Andreas Jourdan, the father of new urbanism, who was involved in the charrettes we had here in coastal Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina. So we did these charrettes for each of the cities. And he, being the father of new urbanism, who you mentioned Seaside and Rosemary Beach and these planned communities, they were the first to bring sort of that concept to that part of Florida. That I don't think anyone can argue what it did to the value of that place and what it means to Florida to have the amalgamation of those incredible planned communities and the beauty of them and the walkability of them. There's how they've intermingled some retail here and there. It's incredible when you can do a planned community. But I had the opportunity to develop a close relationship with Andreas and his team, and to really start to appreciate how we should approach that here in coastal Mississippi. It was hard, incidentally, in the early days after Katrina to even think about what it meant to develop planned communities that were walkable, where you don't park in front, but instead park behind the houses, and make it so that you have this relationship with your neighbor, and so on and so on and so on. It was hard for us to think about it. But what's beginning to emerge now, and I think it's being driven a lot by the new economy, that people who are part of the new economy, young people, some retirees, in fact, they want to go to a place where they can walk in the community, they can play in the community, they can eat in the community, that they sort of do it all in one place. This whole notion of mixed use is what is going to create thriving downtowns all across coastal Mississippi. We see it playing out in Bay St. Louis. You see it, each Pascagoula is playing out, but they have their own take on it. Long Beach will eventually get to a point where they get into this more readily. You see big projects that are planned for Gulfport. You're in Biloxi, and it's playing out all around. I don't think there's any commercial land available in downtown Biloxi. And at one point, there was so much available because people are buying into the vision. But one of the points that Andreas Jourdan pointed out, that if you don't have a vision that's going to attract developers, if you don't have and you don't have sort of rules in place that are going to protect developers with their investments, so that each development sort of complements the other as opposed to doing something that degrades the other development. What we're seeing is a massive awareness of that. Obviously, Ocean Springs has what they had. They were the only city center in coastal Mississippi that wasn't significantly challenged by Hurricane Katrina, so they've been able to build on that walkability. And again, you could go all the way down, but you just speak specifically about Pascagoula and what they've done in I meant to say Pascagoula. What Pascagoula has done to bring life back to that city, to bring life back to downtown, the mixed use is developing. It's incredible. And, the sky is really the limit all across coastal Mississippi as we see more of this. Don't you agree?
100%. I mean, Pascagoula, honestly, it was a shock, and it took me a little while to go over there. And when I got over there and saw how much, the Pascagoula Rehabilitation Association, Paige Roberts, the mayor, how much they were all doing for that area. It was just remarkable. I mean, Dane Maxwell as well, just wanting to give back to that city, and so that's really why we got involved, just because of the economic development that was going on there, and wanted to be a part of it. And it was probably the easiest project I've ever done, where the whole thing leased up so fast. And I can't say it was because of me, because it really just happened. People were calling me to pre-lease it before it was even done.
But what was amazing, in fact, I'll say what was amazing on the other side of this, because we're at the end of this segment, but we're having a conversation with Jourdan Nicaud from Nicaud Restaurant Group, and we'll just continue the conversation on the other side. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I'm my friend Jourdan Nicaud, and we're talking about the investments that Nicaud Restaurant Group has made in coastal Mississippi. And when we went to break, we're talking about Pascagoula. And what I was going to say is what's amazing to me is that what was in place in Pascagoula, and you can talk specifically about this, but in my conversations with Mayor Jay Willis, and on multiple occasions here on Coast Vue, he's just been incredibly excited. He represents sort of like what most mayors are in coastal Mississippi now, which is they didn't really need to be mayor. They had success in their life, and they decided they had to give something back. If you go city after city all the way down coastal, you see a bunch of mayors that are like that are there to give back. And they're smart, and they understand how alignment is important within the city with the city council and the planning commission and others who are involved in this. But what Pascagoula had decided to do as it related to the downtown historic district, as it related to understanding how federal funds flowed, as related to developing sort of a vision for how these pieces are going to fit together, they were serious about it. And what I hear is that when you went to visit for your first time, before you even left, you were making offers on property. I wonder if that's ever actually happened before in the way that you did it.
It has not. I mean, we were invited to the area. We were shown pieces of the property. We were shown the vision that Pascagoula had, and we were also shown how easy they were going to make it for a developer to come in there and basically go all the way from developing, dealing with all the tax credits, dealing with all the incentives, and then going all the way into leasing out the areas. And really the city and the county, just the amount of aid that they gave to us to kind of work that all out was remarkable. And it made me think that it was really a no-brainer for everything we've done over there, because it just was easy. I mean, and development's usually not easy. That's usually why people don't do it, because it's hard. There's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of things you have to deal with. And Pascagoula just cut through all that, I guess, red tape, if you call it.
Yeah, one of the things that Andres Jourdan told me is that the communities we have, the communities that evolved, usually are not the result of a vision. It's serendipity. And as you think about serendipity, one developer comes and wants to do this, another one wants to come and do this, Walmart wants to come and do that, and we didn't have a high bar. So what we end up with is what we have, But then as we begin to get more smart about how to create the kind of development that people want to be part of, then what happens is you realize that during that serendipity, what was happening is all these variations were being made in building codes and building requirements and all of that. And it took a lawyer to understand it, because there were so many layers to it. It was just so difficult, getting through a planning commission meeting with all these exceptions to the rule and all this complication. That's what you're talking about, that it was just the process is so cumbersome and difficult. And those cities that have sort of broke through that and tried to make it simple to say, hey, man, we're going to shepherd you through. Here's how we're going to do that. Here's where the funds are available and all that. Those cities that have done that, they get to attract people like you, investors who are willing to bet the ranch on their community. That's the way it works, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's been something we dealt with throughout the entire area, is that there are a lot of incentives available right now through all these different funds that are being released. And, the cities that are able to help us best deal with those areas and cut off all the, red tape is the ones that we're focusing on going into.
Yeah, I'm not trying to draw you into sort of a politically controversial subject, but I have been very outspoken about the Gulf Coast restoration funds, that they become too political. That what we're doing is we're parceling out the money to all the communities in sort of this political kind of way. And if you look at the way it's announced and who's involved in announcements, the way money comes back to the communities, it just feels like a political football, when it was really meant to really spur economic development in coastal Mississippi. And I'm not saying that some of the money's not used in that way, but too many of us about building a municipal building or doing some things that really aren't the kind of investments that are going to really add up to a true transformational payback for coastal Mississippi. And we still got a lot of years to go with that money. I hope we can continue to get focused on the kind of developments that are going to pay back in coastal Mississippi in ways that we would have never been able to do. Ben Brown, he's a Renaissance man who lives in North Carolina, but he worked with Andres Duany for a number of years, and he's currently works for a company called Placemakers. Ben said that there's no community in America that has funds like the Gulf Coast Restoration Funds available. If you were to do a request for a proposal to the United States for developers, we would be overrun with developers who were trying to develop projects for coastal Mississippi that maybe otherwise would not be able to make the numbers work if you didn't have sort of that investment being made. Anyway, I hope as we begin to see what these kinds of projects look like, we'll get smarter about where we're placing those investments. Again, I don't say that they're all, they're all sort of money being spent on the wrong things, but I would suggest to you that too much of it is not spent on the right things. Do you have a point of view about that?
So my point of view is I've always been a huge Republican, and I've always been under the belief that private enterprise can do things better than public enterprise. And I've seen a lot of public bureaucracy where, because we're having to go through all these different red tape items, it holds up development, and it holds up it overspends the money on fees that really are in my view unnecessary. So I do think that if probably the money was earmarked more towards private enterprises and going forth and creating these changing developments, that's something that's going to change our community. And I think one thing that you said is very interesting is the Gulf Coast. We really are very lucky between the developments, between the cost of our land, between the cost of our labor. It's the easiest place to develop. And if you go to other parts of the country now, California, New York, even even Texas, banks are now having to go and do 30-year amortization rates to make projects work, which is just unheard of. Whereas on the Gulf Coast, you're still able to do 15, 20-year type rates to make things work, which is just something that's unheard of anywhere else in the country. And I think the fact we have that and have the ability to have that with having the great people we have and the great industries we have, whether they're medical, whether they're government aid, say Stennis, Ingalls, all these different great deals we have here, we're just so lucky. We really are in our area, and I think that it's only going to get better.
Yeah, there's no question. The bill that actually created the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund, when that money was made available by BP, it actually has the word transformational in it. Mm-hmm. So I think if we would just stick to the essence of what the bill intended, which was to spur economic development, and I would say that probably the best investment we can make is to take proven developers who may not otherwise be able to make certain projects go. If they could pull some money down from the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund and make the numbers work, what that will end up happening is creating transformational projects that we never expected we'd be able to get. All of these various projects will begin to add up to a level of economic development and transformation that redefines coastal Mississippi in ways that we could have never imagined. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the only issue that I see as a prolonged issue on the Gulf Coast, interest rates are what they are. They're going to go back and forth, and it'll be what it'll be. But our commercial insurance right now, I mean, at least my rates have skyrocketed, and I don't know how you fix that. I don't know what the thought process behind it is, but I think it's happening to everyone along the Gulf Coast, where we're having these astronomical commercial interest rates that are basically now killing cash flows on projects. I think that's something that we, as a community, that's going to be something that we're going to need to look at going forward. Is how do you fix that issue? That's going to be the only thing that I can see that may hurt our growth as a community are those rates. And I don't know how, and it goes beyond even commercial to residential, because if it hits the homes, then that's going to start, that will dry up someone's day-to-day income way faster than inflation, than interest rates going up on their homes, and any of these items. And that's something we really have to worry about as a coastal community.
No, I can't agree more. I've done entire shows about, for example, the changes in the National Flood Insurance Program and how these increases, they don't seem like a ton in 1 year, but if you add them up over time, they begin to add up significantly. And then what's happening is, both with the National Flood Insurance Program and with insurance in general related to wind damage that could come from hurricanes, what's happening is that this whole notion around climate change, which is real, is getting factored into the numbers, and they're focused on being actuarially sound, and it's a big issue for coastal communities. And when you think about, over 50% of America lives near a shoreline, we need our delegations across the United States focused on maybe a catastrophic coverage policy of some sort, so that we can begin to really manage this problem. Because it is the insurance, to me, the insurance is our single biggest issue going forward. Over the next 10 years, the most important issue we're going to deal with is both residential and commercial insurance issues. It's not just wind damage, but it's also the National Flood Insurance Program. And we need our delegation to get together with other delegations in all these other states, and they've got to solve this problem. And so far, they have not been successful focusing on that problem. So when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Jourdan Nicaud from the Nicaud Restaurant Group. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I'm my friend Jourdan Nicaud from the Nicaud Restaurant Group. And during the break, we were just chatting about how we should get together more often, just because he has invested greatly in coastal Mississippi. He knows how the pieces have to fit together to create success. And all the things have to work together. I mean, you have to have the employees. So we've got an issue of attracting workers to this community. We have to have affordable housing for them to live in. What factors into that is the conversation we were just having a few minutes ago around the commercial rates and the residential rates around insurance, whether it be wind coverage or flood coverage. Affordable housing is a big issue, and you just could continue to break it all down, man. There's a lot to think about, but you're not in a situation where you can just ignore various elements of what you have to do. You have to fire on a lot of cylinders every day, don't you?
100%.
I get that. Hey, listen, you said you were looking forward to Bacchus, the new Bacchus that opened up in Ocean Springs. What a great location that is. I like what's been done to that building. And, the truth is that those of us who live on the water and those of us who boat, we really covet having the opportunity to go to places like that by boat. And I mean, it's just a great location, man. And I predict that you're going to have an amazing summer, because I'm hearing just great things about the service, the food. And, when someone thinks about Bacchus, they think it's sort of high end, but you've done a great job of sort of mixing sort of casual elegance with sort of a boating culture at that location, haven't you?
Well, thank you. Yeah. And that's been, what our goal always is to go into areas and bring something that isn't already there, and make it better, and make the community better, and make it better. And that's one thing that when we were looking at that opportunity of that restaurant there, we saw, a boating area that on that side of the coast just was kind of untouched, untapped, and being able to kind of do that and give it a similar feel that you would get whenever you go to the rivers in Miami or the coast of Carolinas is kind of what our thoughts were, and kind of being able to focus on that vibe to where people who come down to the area can get that feeling and be able to come to the Gulf Coast, pay less for lodging and food and everything else that they can down here, and have a better experience than they would have if they went elsewhere. And that's kind of always been my goal, is to bring people from outside of the area, bring in ideas that they are familiar with at other places, and say, hey, come to the Gulf Coast, experience it better on the Gulf Coast, and for a more affordable price.
Yeah. So it is a great location with wonderful investments that have been made in that building. And again, I predict you're going to have a really good summer. One other point about Ocean Springs, the notion that you guys are focused on a boutique hotel. I've had Roxy Condry on the show many times, and Joe Cloyd is not only a good friend, but he's also investing in that arena. But the advent of these boutique hotels that are just emerging all over town, what a great fit for Ocean Springs.
Oh, absolutely. And being able to have, and it's pretty interesting, when you have these boutique hotels and you have, the restaurant/bar downstairs, and then kind of like you have a little lobby upstairs, really no check-in area. You get a code on your phone, you put the code in the door, and it makes it easy, cuts down the cost, and it also allows for to have a great experience so they can kind of be a part of this interesting vibe. And with that location, we're really excited because it's going basically across the street from where Chard is, and right next to Rooftop. And so you're going to have the activity that's already going down that area, and to be a part of that activity and just creating, a better area.
Yeah. It has again, every downtown area has their own unique sense of place. Bay St. Louis clearly has what they've done to bring back Bay St. Louis after Hurricane Katrina is nothing less than extraordinary. But what's happening with the Pearl investment and all the investments in restaurants and people coming there from all over the country to buy residential places there, it's just incredible. Ocean Springs is that same kind of thing. Again, it's slightly different, but this wonderful feel. My family loves to go to Ocean Springs, and when we get done, we'll walk around with the kids, and it's just got a vibe, man. It's got a vibe like you feel when you're in Bay St. Louis. And, that same thing's going to be there in Biloxi. And then what you got the added attraction of Biloxi is all these tourists coming because of the casinos. So you have sort of a blend of people. I mean, what I'm describing is life. You have life in downtown, and people are drawn to life in a downtown, aren't they?
Absolutely. Activity breeds activity. And that's one thing that I've learned is that, if you have a project, whatever the project is, you have to activate that project.
Yeah.
If you activate it, you're able to make it look good. And that's just been a huge thing that we've been able to do.
Yeah, Fofo is going to be joining us here shortly we're going to record for a different show. But one of the points that Fofo and I talked about many times is this collection of developers in downtown Biloxi. It's incredible the way you guys have complemented one another, but it's like this army came almost at once, and all these things happening, and it's just incredible. And it's good to see that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So listen, Jourdan, it's been awesome to spend some time with you. I hate that we're out of town. Actually, I'm out of time because we could spend more time together, but. You helped me focus on the themes that are most important to coastal Mississippi, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your family and the investments that you're making. And I look forward to next time, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. This has been Jourdan Nicaud from the Nicaud Restaurant Group. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.